Good morning, everyone. I am meteorologist James Longwith with Dynamic Weather Agency LLC. Today, we're going to be talking about that up-and-coming major winter storm that's already creating some impacts in parts of Texas, as the system is going to push its way through the central plains up into the Midwest and Great Lakes region, and then it's going to move its way off into the Northeast. Not only do we have these effects from this major winter storm that's going to be moving on through, we're also seeing some severe weather today down in parts of the southern plains into parts of the Gulf Coast and lower Mississippi Valley region. This is eventually going to push its way off into the southeast and up into the mid-Atlantic and Carolina region. Now, as we take a look at our current Doppler radar, our current national radar, we can see some of those impacts already beginning to develop in Texas with that low pressure system, with some convection in parts of eastern Texas, with some mixed precipitation further to the west and snow even further to the west. We can see we also have some rain stretching across basically parts of the upper Mississippi Valley into parts of the Tennessee and Ohio Valley region, and then some rain occurring in parts of the southeast. As we zoom into Texas, we do have a tornado watch already in effect over portions of southeastern Texas. This includes Houston, Galveston, and Woodville. Currently, right now, you're under a tornado watch, and we expect to see more tornado watches issued as this event continues to unfold. Now, first, before we get any farther into today's video, I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to our channel over the past couple of days and everyone who has sent site member requests on our website. If you sent me a site member request, I am not accepting those right now. I'm getting rid of the site members, and I'm making all those pages that are behind my paywall free and public to you guys. If you haven't already, hit the like button down below and subscribe to our channel. Check us out on social media and on our website, dynamicweatheragency.com. Links are down below in the description. Also, we have a Patreon page where you guys can help support this channel and help create more great content like this, or storm chasing videos like you see down below. Those are some of our chase videos right there. If you want to support our chase videos, some of our research efforts, and help make our website and this page better, we have packages and membership tiers ranging all the way from $1 to $20 with page and channel sponsors at $100 a month. Anything that you guys can contribute to us will be very much appreciated. Again, links for everything are down below in the description. Now, let's get into today's video, but first I want to thank one of our subscribers, Ethan B. Thank you for sending in this photo right here of some of the heavy snowfall that occurred yesterday in Indiana, where they saw basically anywhere from ½ an inch to 1.5 inches in areas across parts of northern and central Indiana yesterday. You can see how heavy that snow was falling, reducing some of that visibility. Now, yesterday we were talking about, and today we're going to be talking about some of that heavy snowfall that's going to be occurring over Texas, over southwest Texas. This is the past 24-hour snow accumulation over Texas. We can see areas that saw, up to 5 to 6 inches of snow yesterday with some isolated higher amounts. Abilene saw 4.6 inches of snow, Midland 1.8. And they're going to continue to see some snowfall again today. Now, taking a look at our overview for our major winter storm, again, we're expecting the major winter storm and heavier snowfall to occur in parts of Texas, with some of that heavy snow spreading its way up until the central plains. Again, as this system begins to move its way up to the northeast, we'll see some more of that heavy snow up there within the next 72 hours. Major ice storm and ice threats are expected, stretching all the way from Oklahoma to Missouri and Illinois, with some heavy ice in parts of northern Indiana, and then some major ice over in the Appalachian region. Severe weather expected all the way across the Gulf Coast and southeast and lower Mississippi Valley region today, tomorrow, and even into the day after. Greatest threat for tornadoes are going to be today across that Gulf Coast and lower Mississippi Valley region and parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama over the next couple of hours. Now, taking a look at the National Weather Service current winter watches, warnings, and advisories, we see that nice swath of winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings already in effect, stretching from Texas all the way up to Indiana and Ohio. Winter storm watch for portions of Illinois. Taking a closer look at Texas and Oklahoma, you see those winter storm warnings in effect for San Angelo, Abilene, Snyder, Midland. Also, those winter storm warnings in effect for parts of Elk City, Woodward, and Eden, Oklahoma. Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls during a winter weather advisory. Moving up to the Midwest and Ohio Valley region, we can see those winter storm watches in effect for Peoria, LaSalle, Burlington. Winter storm warnings in effect for Clinton, Columbia, Quincy. Winter weather advisories in effect for Springfield, Chicago, Fort Wayne, Kokomo, Indianapolis, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Dayton, Columbus. All you guys, and Kansas City, all you guys are in that winter weather advisory. That winter storm warning is for snow accumulations of basically 1 to 3 inches of snow with ice accumulations of basically 2/10 to 3/10 of an inch of ice. That's going to be some significant icing over this region. And for that winter storm watch, again, that's going to be for snow accumulations anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, closer to an inch of snow with ice accumulations up to a 1/4 inch possible. So we're going to see some significant icing with this event. Taking a look at Pennsylvania, you're under a winter storm watch. This is again, this is going to be for snowfall up to 1 inch and ice accumulations of 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch. So like we said, we're going to see some significant icing with this event, stretching all the way from parts of the central Great Plains up into the Midwest and even into the Great Lakes region, with another area of icing over the parts of the upper mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast, where you can see some of that heavier icing kind of over where the Appalachian Mountain regions are. And then you can see this nice swath of heavy icing stretching all the way from Missouri to parts of Illinois, Indiana, and to southern Michigan. We can see ice accumulations greater than 1/10 of an inch, even up to 2/10 to even 3/10 of an inch with this event. The NAM, the GFS, and the European models are paying higher snowfall, freezing rain and ice accumulations than the National Weather Service's blend of models, as we see right here. With this event, we can expect some impactful freezing rain over this area, which will lead to hazardous travel. With those significant ice accumulations, power outages will be possible due to down tree limbs and wires from the ice accumulations over this region. So we will definitely be monitoring that for you guys. We'll be posting some of those outage maps on our social media page. Taking a closer look at Missouri, you can see some of those significant ice accumulation amounts, especially in northern Missouri. This is going to spread all the way up through parts of Illinois and into Indiana, where we can see up to 2/10 and even up to 3/10 of an inch of ice accumulation, which is going to be major impacts with hazardous road conditions, and again, possibly causing some power outages and some down tree limbs. Taking a look over into Pennsylvania, you can see those higher freezing rain accumulations, again with some of those areas where you see the higher elevation due to the Appalachian Mountains near Altoona. And if you are going to be traveling today and tomorrow, be sure to continue to monitor road conditions. Turn on the vehicle's low beams to help improve visibility. Also slow down, increase your following distance with other cars. Do not use cruise control. If you feel it is too dangerous to continue, pull off to a safe area and wait for conditions to improve. Now, taking a look at the European model, this is the European model for the next 72 hours from 1 a.m. this morning to 7 p.m. on the 3rd. You can see that nice swath of heavy snow in parts of south and central Texas, then stretching all the way up through the central Great Plains, where we can see anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of snow, where some areas seeing an isolated amount of 5 to 8 inches of snow. Then this event is going to stretch all the way up into parts of Illinois and Indiana, where we can see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches, with some isolated areas seeing 3 to 5 inches. And then this event is again going to push off to the northeast, where now models are starting to become, kind of uncertain over in that region as we start getting farther on out, as this is a 90-hour forecast. Anything past 72 hours starts becoming unreliable data. GFS, a little bit further to the east and south, as we take a look at parts of Missouri and Indiana and Illinois, and even to parts of Michigan. Also, they changed the snow axis in parts of the northeast. As you see, this is more east-west oriented, while this is kind of southwest and northeast oriented. So this is where we start seeing those discrepancies as we start getting farther out past the 72-hour mark and even the 48-hour mark with some of this model. However, we are seeing consistency between the GFS and the European model across parts of Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. Taking a look at the NAM model, seeing similar conditions between, again, a little bit of a further south and eastward movement with this system. Again, the NAM is actually showing more of a east-west snow axis over parts of the northeast. And the NAM is actually showing more aggressive snowfall totals over the over Kansas and Oklahoma than the GFS and the European model. Taking a look at the National Weather Service's blend of models. Again, all the models are showing those consistency for those heavy snowfall totals in southwestern Texas. This model is definitely showing less snowfall totals and impacts across parts of the central plains and even up into the Midwest region, toning down some of those snowfall totals. I'm assuming this model is assuming basically more of that rain across the region affecting the area, and maybe some higher temperatures than what the NAM, GFS, and European models are kind of suggesting. Taking a look at the National Weather Service's forecast for the next 72 hours, again, we see those ingredients. National Weather Service is agreeing that there's going to be some heavy snowfall total, and basically this southern and western portion of and central portion of Texas. Maybe you see some 3 to 5 inches of snow in Oklahoma and Kansas, with some isolated areas of even 5 to 8, toning down some of those snowfall totals over the Midwest region. And then we see some of those snowfall totals. They're only expecting 4 to maybe some 3 to 6 inches of snow in some of these higher areas in the northeast, while some of these other models are suggesting some higher snowfall totals over that region. But then again, as we start getting out past those 72 hours, while this is only a 72-hour forecast, some of these models right here we were looking at are 90-hour forecasts, with an exception, I should say, that the NAM model that we looked at right here is not a 90-hour, but this is a 84-hour model run, because that's as far out as the NAM model goes. Taking a look at our futurecast radar, we see that snow and freezing rain occurring across parts of Texas is eventually going to again move its way up into the north, into the east, into the central plains, where we see that that freezing rain and snowfall continuing to occur as we continue into the overnight and early morning hours of tomorrow. As we move in through tomorrow afternoon, we see that snow occurring in parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, with that freezing rain stretching across Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana as it begins to move its way into the Great Lakes regions. We also see that freezing rain beginning to occur over parts of Pennsylvania. The system is going to continue to track its way into the Midwest and Great Lakes region, and then eventually off into the Northeast as we move in Friday night into Saturday, and then continuing snowfall as we move in through the day on Saturday across the Northeast. Now, as we move into Saturday, we're also going to see this next system that's going to be bringing snowfall to parts of the Ohio Valley region, and this is going to again move its way off into the northeast, where we're going to see more snowfall. Again, our snowfall maps are for 72 hours, and this loop that we just showed you is for the next 84 hours. So you will see some increased snowfall if you live in the northeast, and then if you live in the Midwest, in parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, you're not seeing any snowfall on our charts right now, but tomorrow you'll probably see some snowfall as we refine our charts for the next event. Now this is our snowfall, 72-hour snowfall graphic that we posted yesterday. You can see we were forecasting high snowfall totals over parts of the southwest and central Texas, extending 3 to 5 all the way into Oklahoma and Kansas, with 1 to 3 stretching all the way up into the Midwest and parts of the Great Lakes region. Today, we have refined our graphic. We've extended a 5 to 8 region in Texas. You can see right here. We also added we also extended our 3 to 5 from Kansas all the way into parts of Missouri and Iowa, touching western Illinois. We also shifted our 1 to 3 in Michigan a little bit further south. And we also added a hatch area, basically a little outline of purple in this part of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, where we can see some isolated totals of 5 to 8 inches of snow. For the majority across this region, expect to see 3 to 5 inches of snow. And then, because this is a 72-hour forecast and we lost part of previous day's stuff, we now have added into parts of the northeast where we can see 1 to 3 and even 3 to 5 inches of snow further to the north. There is going to be some more snow with this event, because this event is going to continue into the next day, with even another event possibly moving on through that could extend snowfall totals from 5 to 8, with isolated areas seeing up to possibly 12 inches of snow as we get past the 72-hour forecast region. So we'll be updating this graphic again tomorrow. You might see some higher snowfall totals for the northeast region. Taking a look at the day 1 through 3 overall winter storm impacts. Overall, we're going to see some major impacts stretching all the way from Texas up through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. For day 1, this is today, extreme major impacts in parts of western and central Texas today, with some moderate impacts around that and even into parts of Oklahoma. As we move into tomorrow, we can see those moderate impacts again due to some of this snow and mostly to ice accumulation on day 2. Day 1, this is mostly going to be due to that heavy snowfall in Texas, and then some of it is going to be for some of that 5 to 8 that were extended into parts of Oklahoma and stuff like that. And then the ice accumulations in Oklahoma is where we're starting to see those moderate impacts. Day 3, not much, as in for impacts. We'll see some minor and some moderate impacts, but nothing too significant. So our overall winter weather risk analysis, our confidence is high on this expansive major winter storm to spread freezing rain and snow across a large portion of the southern and central plains, the upper Mississippi Valley, Midwest, and Ohio Valley region, New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. Freezing rain will be likely to fall across portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, as we ring out the new year before spreading in its way up into the northeast. Impactful freezing rain will be across this area, which will lead to hazardous travel with power outages possible due to downed tree limbs and wires from the ice. Winter weather threats, snow, pretty much going to be high for today. That is pretty much only going to be for today into tonight, with those effects over pretty much Texas, with some of that snowfall with those isolated areas that we have stretching into that parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, where we said we could see those isolated 5 to 8. But other than that, the major impact is going to be mostly that freezing rain and ice accumulations, up to 1/4 of an inch, with even some areas seeing up to 3/10 of an inch, with many areas seeing greater than 1/10 of an inch of ice accretion. Slight for winds, we're not seeing much, as in high winds with this event. Some areas can see up to 20 to 35 miles an hour wind gusts as this low pressure system begins to move through. But other than that, nothing significant, as in for blizzard condition type stuff. Not only do we also have to worry about the effects of snow, severe weather, and even freezing rain, we also have to worry about heavy rainfall over the next 3 days. Here is our next 3 quantitative precipitation forecasts. You can see we're going to see some heavy rainfall across portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and parts of western Louisiana. Those areas are also under a flash flood or flood watch currently right now. We can also see heavy rainfall is going to occur across parts of the southeast over the next 1 to 3 days. Taking a look at today, our New Year's Eve severe weather risk. Severe storms are going to be possible, stretching all the way from Texas into Alabama, with the greatest threat for tornadoes as outlined in parts of eastern Texas, Louisiana, southern and central Mississippi, and even to parts of western Alabama. The threat for tornadoes is going to be enhanced today. Damaging winds are going to be slight. Hail is going to be marginal, not seeing much as in for hail threat now today. And flooding is going to be slight, as in this system is going to produce some heavy rainfall across the region today and even into tomorrow. Taking a look at our day one convective outlook, we have an enhanced risk for today. Under that enhanced risk, Galveston, Baton Rouge, Alexandria, Louisiana, all under that enhanced risk, while New Orleans, Biloxi, Hattiesburg, Mobile, Jackson, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, Yazoo, Mississippi, all of y'all are under that slight risk. Even Houston, you're under that slight risk for severe weather today, with a marginal risk around that. The driving factor for this enhanced risk is going to be that 10% probability for tornadoes, as you can see across parts of eastern Texas, parts of Louisiana, and even to parts of western Mississippi, with that 10% probability around. Anywhere within that 10% prob is going to see the most significant chance for tornadoes for today. Taking a look at our wind probability, a 15% chance for some damaging wind gusts, and our hail probability is rather low at 5% today. Taking a look at our futurecast radar, now we're going to be looking at the high resolution rapid refresh model for a severe weather event by 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We can see some of those intense thunderstorms occurring across parts of eastern Texas, beginning to move its way into Louisiana. As we get into about 5 o'clock, we see those storms have begun to move its way into western Louisiana, with some convection occurring ahead of the cold front out in portions of eastern Louisiana, across parts of western Mississippi. As we move into about the 8 o'clock hour, we can see those storms continuing across Louisiana, more coverage now across Mississippi, beginning to move its way into Arkansas. As we move into about midnight tonight, you can see again those storms continuing across parts of eastern Louisiana, some of the storms are happening ahead of the cold front in parts of Mississippi and Alabama. As we move into the 4 o'clock hour, you can see some of those intense thunderstorms are starting to affect parts of extreme north and eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, now affecting mostly Alabama as we move into the overnight hours. Now, going into our ingredients for severe weather, I've been talking about this on all of the videos lately. First ingredient we're going to be needing is that wind shear, the change in wind speed and direction with height, which we're going to be looking at our 500 millibar, our surface to 500 millibar crossover winds in our forecast QT here in a little bit. Next thing we're going to be looking for some atmospheric lift. We're going to be looking for some type of front or boundary to get our thunderstorms going. This is going to cause air to rise to form clouds. Next, we're going to be looking for some instability. This is going to tell us how strong storms can get and how unstable our atmosphere is. The next thing we're going to be looking for is our moisture, which is going to provide fuel, and you need moisture just to even create clouds. So that's going to be a good factor for this. So the first thing we're going to look at is moisture, of course, because we need moisture to create clouds, and we need moisture as for something to even get forced upward to even create clouds. So taking a look at our 10 meter dew points, our 2 meter dew points and our 10 meter wind. This is for 21 Zulu. This is going to basically be 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. We see that low pressure center that's over eastern Texas with a cold front stretching to the south in this east-west oriented warm front that I have depicted on the picture for you. Dew points are going to be raising up into the mid to upper 60s this afternoon, which will be sufficient moisture and fuel for these thunderstorms. Southeasterly winds ahead of the cold front will be backed. We'll have some backed winds up ahead of the cold front, going from the southeast, evecting some of this warm, moist, unstable air from the Gulf across the southern Mississippi Valley and Gulf Coast region. As we take a look at our jet stream, we see this nice deep trough in our jet stream across the western U.S. with a jet max moving out of the base of the trough. We also see a finger of our subtropical jet that's creating this nice area of shared energy. And then we have this nice dip of our arctic jet up in the north. With this nice deep trough is bringing some nice cool polar air right behind it. That's going to interact with that moist, unstable air that we saw at the surface. Just ahead of this jet max, we do have some nice diffluent flow, which is providing upper level support and divergence aloft. That's going to help with these thunderstorms today. As we move down to 500 millibars, again, we see that nice deep 500 millibar trough with this nice vort max moving through the base of the trough, where we also have this nice short wave just ahead of that jet max that's going to enhance upward vertical motion. Ahead of that short wave is an area that we call positive vorticity evection, and that positive vorticity evection again is going to enhance that upper vertical motion and create cyclonic spin in the atmosphere, which we'll see with our SRH values. Taking a look at 700 millibars, we see that nice increasing low-level jet over the region. At 850 millibars, again, we see that nice increasing low-level jet oriented south to north. This is also going to increase some of those SRH values with those increasing wind speeds. Taking a look at our CAPE, you can see basically a nice swath of anywhere from 500 to basically 1600 joules per kilogram of instability over the region. CAPE is the measure of effective available potential energy. This is the potential amount of energy that thunderstorms can feed off of, and is a measure of buoyancy in our atmosphere. Another way that we could look at instability is looking at our lifted index. This is our difference between our parcel temperature at 500 millibars and the 500 millibar atmospheric temperature according to a model SKU-T sounding. This is basically showing lifted indice values ranging anywhere from -3 to even -5, indicating that we have moderate instability over the region. Taking a look at our surface to 6 kilometer, surface to 5 kilometer bulk shear, we have around 50 knots plus of bulk shear over the region. This is sufficient enough for organized convection to occur, especially severe thunderstorms such as supercells or linear systems that we possibly can see, or multi-mode storms, as we will see today. Our surface to 500 millibar crossover winds. Taking a look at our surface winds in red, we see southeasterly winds and even easterly winds ahead of that surface cold front, with winds aloft becoming more southwesterly and even westerly. This is showing that directional wind shear needed to create spin in the low levels of the atmosphere for tornadoes. And then we're also seeing that speed shear, which is helping organize some of these storms, because that speed shear is needed to tilt some of these storms updrafts to keep them long-lived and have them be more persistent than than what you would see with some of these more pulse type storms. And since our winds are also changing more in direction with height, this should help out with more supercells developing than more linear storms. As we see with linear storms, we don't see that change of wind direction with height, but we mostly just see some of those changes with wind speed with height. Taking a look at those SRH values, see SRH values anywhere from 3 to 500 meters squared per second squared. This is basically the potential for cyclonic updraft rotation, which is going to be good for tornadoes, because you need that spin of that updraft to potentially make its way down to the surface for a tornado. Taking a look at the fixed layer ensemble mean STP values, we see this is the significant tornado parameter. I love this parameter. Basically, is taking a look at almost everything we basically have been talking about, compiles it into basically a probability for tornadoes. STP values ranging are greater than 1. That's basically what you want to look for, with values above 2 across parts of Louisiana and moving into parts of western Mississippi. This is eventually going to stretch its way further inland. This is just a timestamp for 21Z, which is again 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this is going to continue to work its way further into Louisiana, Mississippi, into Alabama as the day continues. So taking a look at a model SKU-T, I think this is for parts of western Louisiana. We see some of that nice skinny cape over the region. Cape values of our most unstable layer is going to be around 12 to 1300 joules per kilogram. Those lifted indice values of -4 indicating we have a unstable atmosphere over the region. You can see those SRH values, 350 meters squared per second squared. Again, across the region, we're seeing values anywhere from 300 to 500 meters squared per second squared of our relative humidity, which is our measure of updraft spin. Taking a look at our LCL heights, we have very low LCL heights. It means that the cloud bases are going to be very low to the ground, which is something that we look for, because if you look for Cape and SHEAR and LCL values, they all correlate to tornadoes. Basically, you want low LCL, high Cape, and high SHEAR and stuff like that for your best potential. This is a low Cape, high SHEAR event. Because this is a winter, we just don't have that instability, those high instability values over the region. There is some cloud cover that's inhibiting some of those instability and some of those low-level lapse rates, as those low-level lapse rates aren't that steep. As you see, that 3 to 6 kilometer lapse rates only around 5.8 Celsius per kilometer, while if those were 6 or 7 degrees Celsius per kilometer, we'd increase some of that Cape in the low levels. Again, looking at surface 6 kilometer shear, we have 70 knots to surface 6 kilometer shear, 40 knots to surface to 3 kilometer shear. This is sufficient enough for some organized convection and supercells. You see those southeasterly winds right there at the surface becoming southerly and more southwesterly as we move up higher in the atmosphere. Those winds are also increasing in speed as we move up in the atmosphere. With the southwesterly winds being backed and them becoming more westerly, you see that nice curve of that hodograph now in that top left quadrant. You also see as we get higher up and past that surface to 3 kilometers, that speed shear begins to increase and that hodograph becomes more linear. This is perfect for tornadoes. This is less of a supportive critical angle as we're seeing yesterday. We saw more impressive critical angles, but the critical angle is over 45, so I'm not too worried. But then again, if with some of these right-moving storms, they'll fall off this mean path, increasing that critical angle and also increasing some of those SRH values. Possible hazard, we're seeing tornado. That's again by basically everything is looking at everything in this QT, seeing that the environment is conducive for tornadoes to develop. Those STP values ranging anywhere from around 2.5, close to 3. Now that concludes today's video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe down below. If you haven't already, be sure to check us out on social media and on our website. Again, those links are down below in our subscription. And then you can check out our Patreon page where you can help support this channel for me to make more content like this and support chasing videos like you see down below. Not only that, I want to wish you guys a happy New Year's. And if you would like you to have some of your pictures featured on our channel at the beginning of some of our videos, be sure to send us some of those pictures on our Twitter or even to our email, dynamicweather@outlook.com. I'm meteorologist James Longwith signing out. You guys have a great day and a happy New Year.